Zeus went to war with the gods who made him for 10 years, and the prize was the entire universe. On one side, the Titans, the first and oldest gods there ever were, led by the father who swallowed his own children whole to keep his throne. On the other, his youngest son, alone against the strongest beings in creation. Everyone knew Zeus should lose. Then he did the one thing no god had ever dared, and ended 10 years of war in a single day. This war did not start with Zeus. It started 3 generations before him. With one rule this family could never break. Every king took the throne by force, and every king lost it to his own son. In the beginning, the sky was a living god. His name was Kronos, and he was a cruel father. His wife was the earth herself, Rhea. Their first children came out as giants and monsters, and Kronos could not stand the sight of them. So he pushed them back down inside their mother, and held them there deep underground, where they could not get out. Zea felt every one of them trapped inside her. And that kind of grief in a mother does not stay grief. It sharpens into something with an edge. She made a blade out of gray flint, and asked her children which of them was brave enough to use it. Only the youngest said, "Yes, a titan named Kronos." When the sky came down to the earth that night, Kronos was ready. One stroke, and the long reign of Kronos was finished. But the earth was not done speaking. Rhea had wanted her husband gone. She had not agreed to a new tyrant in his place. "Hear me, Kronos. You rose by the blade you will fall. You take a father's throne today. One day your own son takes it from you, that is the law. Now I have spoken it into the world." Kronos took the throne of the universe, and Rhea's words went into him like a splinter that never worked its way out. He married his sister Rhea. She gave him beautiful children, the very first of the gods, and every time one was born that splinter twisted. "A son will take my throne, that much I know for certain, so no son of mine will ever live long enough to try." What he did next is one of the ugliest things in any of these old stories. As each child was born, Kronos took it and swallowed it whole alive. The Hesti Abiter Heru Hais, Poseidon, 5 children of Rhea, one after another shut away in the dark inside their own father. He thought that made him safe. He thought a prophecy was a thing you could eat. Rhea watched 5 of her babies go down his throat, and something inside her went very cold and very clear. 5 times I have handed my child to him. 5. There will not be a 6th. This one stays mine. So when her 6th was near, Rhea went to Rhea, and the 2 women made a quiet plan. Rhea slipped away to the island of Crete, and gave birth in a cave high on a green mountain, hidden from her husband's eyes. A boy, she called him Zeus. Then she took a plain stone, and wrapped it in a baby's blankets, and held it to her chest, and carried it home. "Give the child to me." He took it and swallowed it whole, and never once looked down. He never knew the difference. And far away on that green mountain, the son who would end him started to grow. Zeus grew up in secret, far from his father, raised on hidden milk and hidden truth, learning exactly what had been done to his family. He learned he had brothers and sisters he had never met. 5 of them, still alive, still trapped inside the king of the gods. Most people who heard a thing like that would run the other way. Zeus decided he was going to get them out. But nobody beats Kronos with muscle. Not yet, so Zeus started the way the clever ones always do, with a trick. With Rhea's help, he came to his father in disguise, and handed him a drink, mixed on purpose to turn his own stomach against him. Kronos drank it down, and then the king of the universe buckled, and could not stop what came up next. First the old stone back into the light, after all those years. Then his children, one after another, grow now alive, and absolutely furious. Poseidon, Hades, Heru, Demeter, Hesti, they came out into daylight for the very first time, and the first face they saw was the younger brother who had freed them. "He swallowed you to keep a chair warm, so let us take the chair and break it. Stand with me." He stood with him, 5 gods who had spent their whole lives in the dark, and one who had grown up hiding all of them with the same father to settle up with. That was the day they stopped being victims. That was the day they became an army, and the whole universe was about to split straight down the middle. The war that came next went without a real name. For a long time later, they would call it the Titanomachy, the War of the Titans. It broke the world in half on one side. The Olympians, Zeus, and his free brothers and sisters, young and angry, dug into a mountain called Olympus. On the other side, the Titans Kronos and his brothers, the oldest and strongest gods that had ever existed, holding the peak of Mount Tartarus across the plain. Not every Titan followed Kronos, but enough of them did. And these were beings who had run reality itself since before there was any time to measure. So the runaway finally shows his face. Good. I will finish what I began the day you were born. You should have stayed hidden, boy. But you buried your own children to keep that seat warm. I am going to hand it back to them. Come down off that mountain and fight me. And then the gods went to war for real, not a quarrel, a war. Mountains cracked apart, the sea walked up out of its bed, the young world shuddered from end to end every time the two sides slammed together. But here is the trouble with a war between immortals. Nobody can win it. You cannot finish off a thing that cannot end. 10 years, that is how long it ground on. 10 years of gods hurling everything they had at each other, and not 1 foot of ground ever changing hands. But the Zeus was mighty. But mighty was not enough. His father had held power since forever, and forever does not get tired. Fighting fair, Zeus would still be fighting when the stars burned out. He needed something else, something nobody in this war had thought to reach. For the answer came from the oldest voice. There is Rhea, the earth herself, who had watched every king climb up and come crashing down. You keep trying to win with the powers everyone can see. Look lower, grandson. There are things older than the Titans, and your grandfather chained them in the dark. She meant prisoners. Very old, very dangerous prisoners, locked in a pit underneath the world. The first were the Cyclopes, 3 giant smiths, 1 enormous eye apiece, who could forge things the rest of creation could not even imagine. The others were worse and better, the 100-handed ones, 3 giants so huge and so terrible that the other gods were frightened of them. 50 heads each, 100 hands each. Uranos had feared them and buried them. Kronos, once he was king, just left them down there, too useful to free, too dangerous to trust. Which meant not one side in this war had them. Nobody had even tried. Nobody but the one god willing to go down there himself and ask. So Zeus went down past the roots of the world into the pit called Tartarus, all the way to the cell where the giants had been left and forgotten for 3 generations. And I know who put you here. My grandfather feared you. My father left you to rot. I am not my grandfather, and I am not my father. Fight beside me, and the day this ends, you walk out free. You have my word. For a long moment the giants said nothing at all. Then the largest of the 100-handed ones, the one they called Kronos, spoke for all of them. Bright one, we have counted every year down here in the dark. No god came, no god ever came. You did break these chains, and we will bury your enemies for you. Zeus broke the chains himself, and the giants made good on their word before the battle even began. The Cyclopes, drunk on free air after all those ages, went straight back to the forge. They built him a weapon, 3 of them, hammering metal that had never been shaped before, and what they put in his hands is the thing his name has meant ever since. Thunder, the thunderbolt, lightning. He could grip and hurl a shard of the sky itself, filed down into a spear. Nobody had ever carried a weapon like it. Not Kronos, not one of the Titans. No one. 10 years I fought you as your equal. That is, finished. Now come up here and meet the sky. Zeus went back to the front line, and the Olympians came behind him, and behind them came the giants, up out of the pit and into the daylight. The 100-handed ones reached down, tore 300 boulders out of the mountains in one motion, and let them all fly at once. 300 rocks the size of hills, in a single throw, swallowing the light above the Titan army. Then another volley, then another, The Titans had never once been buried under anything. And in that same breath, Zeus rose up over the whole battlefield and let the thunder loose. Bolt after bolt after bolt, the air itself went up in flame. The sea boiled in its basin. The oldest forests in the world turned to ash wherever the lightning touched them. The heat got so unbearable that creation felt like it was tearing back open into the empty nothing it had come from. Even the pit at the bottom of everything rang like a struck bell. The Titans, who had not been moved an inch in 10 years, could not hold their feet in this blinded, battered down under the falling mountains. They could not even find where the light was coming from. 10 years of deadlock, it broke in a single afternoon. And this was the thing nobody had seen coming. It was not more strength Zeus won by freeing the very monsters everyone else had been too afraid to touch. His grandfather's fear had built the cage. His father had kept it locked. The Zeus opened it and aimed it at them both. But no, wait, this is not how it goes. I am the king. I ate the prophecy. I swallowed it whole. I made sure. He had, and it had grown up anyway and climbed down into hell of its own free will and come back holding the lightning. When the dust finally came down, the war was over. And Zeus did not repeat his father's mistake. He did not try to swallow his enemies or pretend they had never existed. He put them somewhere they could never crawl back out of. The beaten Titans were bound in chains that could not be broken and cast down into Tartarus, the very same pit where the giants had been forgotten. It sits as far beneath the earth as the earth sits beneath the sky. Drop a bronze anvil off the edge, and it would fall for 9 days before it struck the floor. That is how deep Zeus buried the old gods. And the 100-handed ones, who had spent 3 ages as prisoners down there, stayed not in chains this time as the wardens guarding the gods who had once locked them away. One Titan drew a punishment all his own at Zeus had led the Titan armies on the field, so Zeus sent him to the western edge of the world and set the whole weight of the sky across his shoulders, forever holding the heavens up with his own back so they can never come down on the earth again. He is still standing there if you believe the story. And then there was Kronos, the king who swallowed his own children, the father who ate a prophecy so it could never catch him. Kronos went down into the dark with all the rest, overthrown by his own son, exactly the way Rhea had promised. On the very first day he sat on the throne. The wheel that started turning with Kronos had come around one more time, father to son to son. Every crown in this family taken off a king who swore it could never happen to him. You are no different from me. You will sit up there on that throne and you will wait the same as I did. One day your own child comes for you, I promise you that. With the Titans gone, the universe belonged to the ones who had won it, and the 3 brothers split it between them. They drew lots for it. Zeus drew the sky, Poseidon drew the sea, Hades drew the underworld and everything under the ground. The earth and Olympus they would all share, and over the top of everything, on the throne of the whole cosmos, they set Zeus, king of the gods, lord of the sky, the god who freed the monsters and won a war that could not be won. The order of the world we still tell stories about began right there on the far side of 10 years of fire. The Titans became the old gods, the ones who came before, most of them forgotten, sealed away under the ground. The Zeus had everything his father once had, and more: the throne, the sky, the loyalty of his family, a weapon nothing in creation could stand against. He also inherited the one thing his father had that he never asked for, the prophecy. Because the Logis spoke over Kronos did not stop when Kronos fell. A son takes the throne, and a son loses it to his son. Zeus was a son. The years later, when Zeus got word that one of his own children might be born stronger than him, do you know what he did? He swallowed the mother whole. The exact same fear his father had just sitting on a shinier throne. We remember Zeus as the king who was always going to win the thunder in his hand, the throne under him, the one born to rule. But that is not where he started. He started as a baby a frightened mother smuggled out in the dark because his own father was waiting to swallow him. Every god in this story reached the top the same way, by taking it off the one who held it before, and every last one of them spent the rest of forever glancing over a shoulder. watching for the one who would come to take it next. That is the real price of a throne you win by force. You do not pay for it once. You keep paying against your own children, until the day it is taken from you too. Zeus won the whole universe, and in the very same moment he swallowed the one fear his father never could. So that is the one thing Zeus did that nobody saw coming. He did not outmuscle the Titans. He went down into the dark, freed the monsters everyone else was too afraid to even look at, and made them his own. 10-year war, finished in an afternoon, by the one god willing to open the cage. But here's what I keep chewing on, and I genuinely want your take. Zeus overthrew a tyrant who ruled the whole world by fear. Then he climbed onto the very same throne, and started ruling by that very same fear. So was Zeus actually any different from the father he buried, or just the next king sitting there waiting for the wheel to come back around? Tell me down in the comments. I read every one. There are so many more of these gods still waiting in the dark, and the world has forgotten almost all of them. If you want to meet the next one, subscribe and I will take you down there myself. The forgotten Pantheon is only getting started.